Hi there everyone, welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and today we're going to be checking out this new album from post-punk noise rock outfit, A Place to Bury Strangers, See Through You. So it seems what I've been assuming was coming with this band has happened, and A Place to Bury Strangers have finally seen fit to take a very sensible approach to changing their songwriting for this album. Now make no mistake, this is still very much a noisy, loud, fun romp of an album, and it has the signature touches of an album from this group, but they've taken a step back and really dialed their performances and writing in on this record. The whole shift is very immediately noticeable from the first seconds of the album with Nice of You to Be There For Me, which has this very clear, very crisp drum beat, and this really great bass line, and most of this is mostly left unaltered in the mix. It's a very clean recording of these instruments. And speaking of mixing, there's so much more room in these songs than in a lot of their previous material. The headroom is comfortable. There's a lot of very nice effects that you can pick out a lot easier than if this was some of their earlier material. I also really love how effect heavy most of the instruments are in this song. Specifically, the guitars in this track are just seemingly soaked in a ton of wet and dry effects and almost whine like an ambulance siren. It's a very cool listen. Speaking of really cool effects too, the second track, I'm Hurt, has a remarkable amount of control and tact when it comes to blending the song's driving beat and effects tracks, which are absolutely blown out with some echo and reverb. There's a level of restraint shown on this song specifically that is actually very, very impressive, as I feel that this song could have very easily been overdone. Third song on this album is Let's See Each Other, one of my favorites in this set of songs. The whole track is a very calculated experience, and you can kind of tell that this song is a very bold move for them just because of how different it is from so many of the singles from this band. I think that the closest you'll get to this song would maybe be You Are the One, but even still that's a very, very rooted in their older style. The song has a very raw, fresh edge to it. It's more focused in its noise, it's more interested in creating a song out of sound instead of just manifesting a large wall of noise. So Low is one of the more chaotic songs on this album and rightfully feels at home in this track listing. The drums here are as chaotic as ever. The lyrics are really digging into an emotive place with a lot of accusatory lines about another person, presumably a partner. There really is quite a lot of lyrics on many of the songs on this record about love and hate and regret, and it's kind of a core theme of the album, the struggle between people and the disconnection that happens between people who are seemingly very close but are inherently very damaged. It's fairly par for the course, and in most cases only serves to be another vehicle for the songs to kind of get a move on, and in so many spots it's really not too much of a big deal to tune out and kind of just listen along to the chaotic noises on this record instead of just kind of dialing into the lyrics. I mean, it all works well enough, but it's really not necessary to dig too deeply into the lyrics, as I don't think that they were written with too much intention in the first place. Dragged in a Hole is a killer, fast, and heavy track that taps a lot of shoegaze and drone for its styling. The drums are operating at a fierce chugging tempo, and the guitar is so blown out with fuzz that it bleeds into the bass. The vocals here again are hitting more of a wall of effects instead of just being focused in on the lyrics. These are some of the coolest sounds that they toy with on the record here. Ringing Bells plays with some really great electronic work for its rhythm and quickly picks up tempo with the last few tracks for what is a very hypnotic sound. The guitar on this track too really just sounds like a buzzsaw just hacking through this track with some of the densest fuzz on the album. Killer sound, killer track. Up next is I Disappear When You're Near. This song slows things down a bit and falls a little bit more in line with that more focused, more sensitive approach that the band had been working on here. There is still very much a focused chaos here, but it's so delicate and it's very interesting to listen to on this song. There's a pretty great blend here of clean and dirty production that pops up at a few different points in the track, namely at the chorus with a very clean guitar track that peeks through the back of the mix in a very tasteful way. Anyone But You is a super in-your-face post-punk track splattered with a blanket of sludge with one of the most upbeat and grimy bass lines on the album. The swirling effects on every instrument here become a bit disorienting and start to feel a little too much, but like even still, the song is so upbeat and poppy, it's not hard to really get into it, as it's a very strong jam. My Head Is Bleeding starts to suffer a little bit from a lack of changing up the recipe too much. There's a lot of really great moments on this song that have some padded noise parts that kind of hold things back a bit. I think this is a pretty strong song that stumbles a little bit during its middle. There is a really cool bass line that this song uses, and it's almost wasted here on a song that kind of needed a little bit more time on the writing desk. And I think at this point in the album, it's pretty easy to see that the limitations that this band has reached are kind of starting to get pushed a little bit. There's a lot that they've changed, And in most ways it's been for the better, but almost feels like it's not enough at certain points. There's a lot of times where the writing feels kind of obvious or self-explanatory when you listen to these songs. It's like they've gained a bit more of an ability to analyze and to dial in their sound, but they're kind of held back by their own limitations. And I could be wrong as to reasons, but there's a lot here that I'm listening to that just kind of seems like great ideas that just don't really go far enough. I mean, I'm super into a lot of this material, but it just kind of stops shy of just what I would hope for. Even still, it's not like these are awful or even bad, it just leaves me wanting a little bit more. Now, take the song Broken. This is a super dance-heavy song that has a fantastic groove, but it feels a little bit too predictable and doesn't make much of an effort to vary its delivery. The song Hold On Tight, pretty weak track in comparison to a lot of these songs on this album. The beat itself is great and drives the song along very nicely, but there's just not really enough on the table here to justify this song too much. It does at least sonically fit in pretty well as far as the mix goes. It's pretty tight. The second to last song is I Don't Know How You Do It. This song very much falls into the same issue as the last track. There's so much that I love that the band is trying on this song, and overall it's a pretty great track. I just wish that there was a little bit more of a creative push that really flipped this song more on its head. Still pretty good listen as is. I do think that this track length isn't really the band's strong suit either. They have a tendency to rely a little bit too much on the same beat for too long as is, and with this being the longest song on the album, that problem becomes a little bit more obvious. The final song, Love Reaches Out, does feel a bit anthemic in the way it sends off the album. There's a really nice guitar part for this intro that is somewhat abrasive, but is weirdly very pleasant to listen to. This is probably the poppiest that the band have sounded before, with a blend of 80s style synth pop pinned into their signature noise rock style. It's a very New Order-esque track and one of my favorite on the album. This is very much a sound that I would love to see them delve into further, as this is the freshest sound that they've tapped into on this whole album. So we've got a pretty good mix of tracks here and an album that is overall a good listen. I think the main issue here is that there's so many promising changes the band have made for this album, and in so many ways they miss the mark as much as they land. So it's kind of this weird mishmash of waiting for the next fumble. I also think that the length of this album has a little bit to do with that factor. I don't see 13 tracks for this album as necessary. A solid 8 or 9 really would have done well. With some nice editing, probably would have been an ideal situation, but even still, there's enough quality content here to warrant a good amount of re-listens. I think See Through You is a solid 7. Thank you all so much again for watching. The support lately has been excellent. Also, I really wanted to celebrate 300 subscribers. That's awesome. You guys have all been great. I really enjoy making these videos, and I hope you guys all enjoy watching them. Anyway, let me know what I should review next, and please feel free to discuss this album in the comments below. Also, support the channel by checking out my Reverb store and my Instagram. Links to those are in the description below. Thank you all so much again, and we'll see you on the flip side.